Hello everyone and welcome to our educational session. My name is Paul Arsov and I'm the founder of the Decentralized Web project. I'm going to talk more about the project, actually the number of projects that we work on in the end of this presentation. But let's come back right to the topic of this presentation today. It is on thoughts, actions, correlation, and causation in the artificial intelligence context. This is part 2 of this presentation, and part 1 was presented last week. But let's start right away with part 2. Thoughts, like actions, are learned for their utility. A thought, like an action, is a response you learn to associate with a cue. This time the cue is not connected to a physical action, but to a set of sensory inputs which you later recall when the cue is triggered. For example, on a sync button, which is the cue, you may have a visual thought of it being pressed, which is the response, or you may associate the sight of a personal face, which is the cue, with the sound of their name, which is the response. The context of these thoughts are usually taken from everyday empirical experiences. The mechanism by which thoughts become associated with their cues seems more difficult to explain than for actions. Since the earliest days of psychological research, it has been common to point to a correlation of experiences as a probable catalyst. Many theories have been built upon the paradigm, including the classical conditioning, the Hebbian association. However, we have mentioned earlier pure correlations based on the frequency of association are not practically useful in practice. A causal assumption must be present somewhere. Associating learning yields correlations and enable predictions, but it does not reflect causal knowledge, knowing what to expect next, such as anticipating that the sound of the key will be followed by the creaking around and creaking sound as the door opens is not the same as understanding that the door's movement generates this creaking. Frequency of association does not necessarily produce variable information. Often what is useful is also rare. Pressing an elevator button usually has no immediate effect except to light the button up, followed by a long wait. Yet we associated it with the experience of the elevator coming and then opening the door. The latter is relatively distant and infrequent consequence, but is certainly the one which we wish would occur. Relying on a correlation to explain thinking also fails to describe the many other varieties of thought, such as plans, fantasies, or even lies, which are apparently not based on frequent co-occurrence, but on the enjoyment or utility they supposedly bring a person. Perhaps we can look back at the prior section for guidance here. Actions we said learned because in certain circumstances they seem to cause something desirable. The same may also be said of plans and fantasies. The content of a fantasy is a set of sensory experiences which, were they present, could lead to something we want. If I could fly, I might get to many places, certainly, which are currently restricted to me. Similarly, plans considered in the broadest sense are a set of intended experiences that would lead to or cause your goal. Curiously, the definition of plan also covers the process of labeling or naming entities. For example, to associate the thought of the name Harold with an image of his face is only useful if the sound of his name, however produced, would get his attention. If he preferred to be addressed by a nickname, you would likely think of that nickname instead of his proper name when you wanted to get his attention. Therefore, thinking of his name when you see his face is a sort of plan of what to do and say. It is no coincidence that the thought tends to arise in your mind whenever we want to address him or tell others how to do so. Even descriptive words like chair are learned because they are effective at orienting others to what you want. Hence, polyglot will use different words with different language audiences. Utility drives the association. The polyglot will not simply recall the most frequently occurring sound without regard for what would be used for. Finally, whenever we think up a lie, we gauge it by its real or imagined effects. Frequency of correlation is not a deciding factor. Actions and thoughts, it seems, have many similarities. As seen in the examples we gave, both are responses to data learned because experience has shown that they lead to a desired effect. Our mind is recording some valuable sight or sound that preceded the appearance of a good or a goal, always with the implicit assumption that the former caused the later. For example, the sound of Harold's name caused him to turn around and look at us. The machinery of the brain is hungrily searching around, splitting up the world into distinct entities that appear to be casually related to the things it wants. And as with actions, the thought only contains the cause, not the beneficial effect itself. The value of recording and recollecting thoughts in the manner described should be obvious. They serve as a guide for what to aim for. A thought is useful if it tells us what to do or how to act. In other words, if it provides an intention. If an event X caused the desired event Y, then any action that caused you to experience X would be beneficial to take. X becomes its own goal to strive for outside of Y. And so even without the need to validate it through trial and error. If the sound of the word ice cream precedes its appearance, and if you assume the word caused the appearance, then producing the sound yourself can be assumed to be a good idea. Our mind may even begin to build plans on these supposed imaginary connections long before they have been tested in reality. Any mistaken assumptions can self-correct over time pragmatically. Compare them to actions once again. The proof of the efficiency of an action as a cause is demonstrated through the consequences of taking it. If it were only a coincidental correlation, you would find out the next time you try to put it to use. The embarrassment of getting someone's name wrong is enough to cause you to at least hesitate the next time you say it. Corrections arise naturally through practice, motivated by whether they match your needs or fail to do so. The causal validity of thoughts is tested in the same way, though indirectly. Just as you test your words against their effect, you test thoughts that caused those actions against their effects as well. The question isn't, is this a true thought? Frequency of correlation is not the deciding factor, but rather is this an effect or effective thought? As with actions, it is their causal effectiveness towards an end goal that is the reason thoughts are retained and learned. The thought you recorded is a proposed missing link between the circumstantial cue and the desired state, with the later drawing the first two together. The contingent association between a cue and the thought itself is not completely irrelevant, of course, since a link between them can only be made if they are both actually present together. You will not associate pressing a button with a thunderstorm simply because they rarely occur together. The more often the cue and the thought appear near to each other, the more likely they will be selected and joined by some desired effect. But these are like raw materials that incidentally happen to be lying around. In order to notice them or turn them into tools, you must first have a purpose, a motive that acts as a glue. Doubtless, these conclusions may still seem odd to some listeners. When you close your eyes and observe the thoughts that flow through your mind, it is natural to assume that they were learned via correlations between past events. Surely, I think that buttons should be pushed because the two experiences are commonly conjoined. No alternative motive appears to be present. The reason for this disconnect should already be evident from what we said before. Just as an action does not contain the effect for which it is the cause, a thought contains only the cause of what you want to achieve, not the effect or the goal itself. The latter is gone by the time you introspect. The analysis is further complicated by the fact that the cause in one relationship can be the effect in another. Like, for example, pressing the elevator button is the cause of an elevator arriving, but the elevator arriving is the cause of going in the elevator and then going to the floor you need to. These two can get mixed together during introspection. Nevertheless, in any individual connection, you will not find the rewarding experience that originally made you stick in your mind, even more so because it's not particularly useful to recall a reward itself. It is only useful to remember the chain of causes that would get you to that end. When you want to get someone's attention, you would likely to think of their name and not the image of them turning around and facing you. Unfortunately, the absence of the latter makes it difficult to recollect why you recorded a particular thought or action. The true driver that which connected thinking to its utility has left no trace on itself. It will always remain outside of our consciousness and cannot be retrieved from inside. So with no other options available, we tend to fall back on what information we do have available, the correlation between the cue and the thought, and we make up a story about their utility. One can imagine, as an analogy, the mentioned before dog forgetting all about the dog treat and inferring that the word sit was associated with them sitting down simply because the two tend to co-occur. Most often than not, this leads to a fixation on what the means and not the ends, like focusing on accumulating money and forgetting what it was that money was supposed to buy. It is difficult to consciously see or remain aware of the things you like directly. Your true goals, at least when they're active, are always just outside of your conscious mind, influencing inwards, but reluctant to enter your memory. You only see their representatives, the delegates through which you communicate with them, and the causes of the desired effects. These are the sounds, images, or symbols that point you down the path to success. The desires themselves fall through your mind like water through a sieve, leaving only their causes behind. The result is that the entire content of your mind becomes a trail of breadcrumbs that it creates for itself, leading you through your problems to your aims. Every conscious moment is the instantiation of a new clue. Heuristics, cognitive skills and techniques, philosophies, these are clues you have put down in your progress through life. To recollect is to recover a breadcrumb in the current moment and put it to actual use. This seems to work. Your faculty of insight says, and place it in front of you as a tool. Were you to actually reach your goals entirely, there would be no reason to act, no reason to think, no reason to create any more breadcrumbs. And with this said, I'm ending this part 2 of this presentation. Thank you for listening. And I'm coming back to the beginning of this presentation when I told you that my name is Paul Arsov, and currently I'm the founder of the Decentralized Web project, and currently we work on the Decentralized Web project and several other projects. First, with the Decentralized Web project, we are building decentralized communication and advertising platform. It is monetized through advertising, and ordinarily people assume decentralization is related to blockchains and blockchain technology, but we understand that blockchain technology has fundamental flaws, and it makes it unsuitable to be a driver of decentralization. So what we are building is decentralization not based on blockchains, but what we view as the essence of decentralization, which is direct communication from user to user without going through a third party, which could be a server or some other central point which collects information and then it distributes it to users. So that's basically it for the first project that I want to mention. I want to mention the website of this project. It is decentralizedweb.org. Decentralized and web, these are two words and they're typed all together. Decentralized web. Then there is dot and it ends with org. With this said, I'm going towards the second project I like to mention, and this project is about a marketplace and collection of non-fungible tokens or NFTs based on three-dimensional objects. With three-dimensional objects, what is the creators of these three-dimensional objects ordinarily they have to use special software which loads and displays the 3D objects. Currently, the creators of 3D objects they use so-called game engines, and there are two very popular choices of these game engines. One of them is called Unity, the other one is called Unreal. But from the very beginning of our project, we decided to build our own 3D software engine, and what it does is it reads the file of the 3D object, then it opens a window on a computer screen, it loads the 3D object, and it starts animating the 3D object in a way of moving it in a random fashion around the window it did open. But in addition to this initial and basic capability of the 3D software engine, it possesses multiple additional capabilities. The first additional capability of the 3D software engine is the capability of speaking. The 3D NFTs can speak in one of three different basic voices. The 3D NFTs through the 3D software engine can speak either in a male voice or in a female voice or in a whisper kind of voice. In addition to the three basic voices, there are three different flavors of voices. A voice can be spoken either in a normal speed manner or in a fast speed manner or in a slow speed manner. If, for example, we take a male voice and it is spoken in a slow speed manner, then this voice can come as the voice of a masculine person or the voice of an old person. If, on the other hand, we take a female voice and it is spoken in a fast speed manner, then this voice can come as the voice of a little girl or the voice of a funny person. The next additionally important capability for our 3D NFTs is the capability of voice recognition. The 3D NFTs can recognize voice commands, and for example, if you have a 3D NFT which is moving in a random fashion, being animated, then you can issue your very first voice command to this 3D NFT to stop moving. And then the 3D NFT is going to stand still and stop moving. You can issue following voice commands to the 3D NFT to move left, move right, move up, move down, zoom in, zoom out, rotate. And then the 3D NFT is going to fulfill each one of these separate voice commands and move left, then move right, move up, then move down, come closer, zoom in, go farther away, zoom out, and start rotating. The next additionally important capability of our 3D NFTs is the capability of them having basic artificial intelligence. Wow, really wow. You can ask the 3D NFT what is your name, and then the 3D NFT is going to reply with their name. You can ask the 3D NFT who are you, and then the 3D NFT is going to reply with who they are. You can ask the 3D NFT to describe something. For example, describe Web3, or describe decentralization, or describe Russia. And then the 3D NFT is going to describe in few sentences about Web3, or about decentralization, or about the country called Russia. The last additional but not least important capability is the capability of the 3D NFTs being displayed in a way of stereoscopics. What stereoscopics means is that part of the 3D NFT is going to be displayed in red or reddish colors, and another part of the 3D NFT is going to be displayed in blue or bluish colors. Then the user can come to our 3D NFT marketplace, and probably now is the time to tell you the name of the website and the URL of this project. It is 3dnft.decentralizedweb.org. 3D NFT is typed in a way of the number 3 followed by the letter D followed by 3 other letters NFT, and it is all together 3D NFT. Then there is dot, then there are two words which are typed all together: decentralized web, and then there is dot and it ends with org. Once again, 3dnft.decentralizedweb.org. On the top of the main page and every other page you can see links, several links, and one of these links is going to point to links to accessories. When you click on this link, you're going to see that we are offering special glasses. You can click and order one pair of these glasses, and when you receive these glasses, you're going to see that one lens of these glasses is red, and the other lens of these glasses is blue or cyan. So when you put then these glasses on, you can request displaying of the 3D NFTs in well stereoscopics, and you are going to see the 3D NFTs as coming out of the flat two-dimensional computer screen, and you're going to see it in real 3 dimensions. With this said, I'm ending talking about the 3D NFT software engine, and I like to tell you a little bit about the 3D NFT marketplace. In our marketplace, we have our own blockchain instance. This blockchain instance runs Ethereum software, and it is the same software which runs on Ethereum mainnet. It runs on Binance Smart Chain, it runs on Polygon Matic chain, it runs on Avalanche Avax chain, and it runs on many other blockchains. By having our own blockchain instance, then we allow our users to pay in multiple crypto coins, and like currently we have 4 different choices of crypto coins which you can use for purchasing and then receiving proceedings from sale of 3D NFTs. The current choices of crypto coins include Solana Sol, Polygon Matic, Avalanche Avax, and Qcoin, which is a big centralized crypto exchange. They have a coin called KCS. But in addition to buying and selling in crypto, we have a second parallel and independent way of buying and selling 3D NFTs, and it is done entirely in fiat currency. You, the user, can come to our 3D NFT marketplace. You can click on the composite image of our very first collection. You can browse through the items in this collection. You can click on one 3D NFT that you like, and then when you click on there's a drop-down menu, and when you click on this drop-down menu, you're going to see that you can select between 4 choices of paying with crypto coins and the 5th choice of paying with fiat currency. When you select payment with fiat currency, then you can put the number of your debit and credit card and make expiration date and CVC. And when you complete the payment, then there is going to be a transaction and conversion from your national fiat currency, which could be different than US dollars. And this payment is going to be converted to US dollars and deposited in our bank account. Then we are going to transfer the initial ownership from the 3D NFT marketplace to you, and you are becoming a user of this 3D NFT. So let's say there's a second user, they come to the 3D NFT marketplace, and let's say you, after a while, you decide to put your 3D NFT for sale. You decide on the price that you want to put the 3D NFT for sale, and then let's say the second user, they come to the website, they browse through the 3D NFTs, they like in particular your 3D NFT which is put for sale, and then they go through the same part of choosing to pay between crypto and fiat. Let's say they select payment with fiat currency, they put the number of their debit or credit card, CVC, expiration date, and when they complete the payment, the payment is going to be converted from their national fiat currency to US dollars and deposited in our bank account. Then we're going to transfer the ownership from you to the second user, and now the second user becomes current owner of this 3D NFT. Then we are going to transfer, make a transaction and transfer, convert US dollars to your national fiat currency and deposit the payment for the sale of the 3D NFT in your bank account. With this said, I'm ending talking about this second project. I'd like to mention the third project that we work on, and the third project relates to electric vehicles. We assume and we estimate that year after year, in near future, there would be a growth of the number of electric vehicles purchased, which are going to replace internal combustion engines, which currently are have the majority of the vehicles on the market. But with the growing and sometimes maybe exponentially growing number of electric vehicles, the way these electric vehicles are charged currently resembles the way internal combustion engines vehicles are loaded with fuels. Internal combustion engines, they come to locations called gas stations. They connect fuel hose to their car. They start pumping gas in their car. They pay for the gas, and then they leave the gas station. In the same way, currently there are a number of locations where electric car owners, they can come, they can connect the electric cable to their electric vehicle, start charging, stay for a while at this location, then pay for the electric energy they load it, and then they leave. But we estimate that the number of these charging stations resembling gas stations is ultimately going to become insufficient to charge the exponentially growing number of electric vehicles. So what we propose as a replacement for the gas station model is what we call the parking lot model. Many electric car owners, they live in high-rise buildings, like high-rise apartment buildings, which have ground floor parking lot or multiple underground floors parking lot. So owners of electric vehicles, usually they come in the evening from work, and they leave their car at the parking lot of this high-rise apartment building. So what, like we're building products, and these products can be outfitted in the parking lots, and owners of electric vehicles, they can connect a cable to their electric vehicle. They can charge throughout the evening, during the night, and during the early morning their electric vehicle, and then they can leave for work. But in the same way, like if the owners of electric vehicles, they work in office buildings, high-rise office buildings, in the same way these office buildings can have ground floor parking lot or multiple underground floor parking lots. Owners of these electric vehicles, they can come to the parking lot of these office buildings, and the parking lot could be outfitted with the type of products that we're building. And in these locations, the owners of electric vehicles, they could come in the morning for work. They can connect electric cable to their vehicle, and they can identify themselves to the charger. They can start charging energy up to their car, and they can leave this cable connected to their car and charging their car during the morning, afternoon, and maybe early evening. With this said, I like to tell you that the name and the URL of the website of this project, it is power.rstack.com. Power is the ordinary word for power, then there is dot, then there is something which I can spell it letter by letter. It's Alpha, Romeo, Sierra, Tom, Echo, Charlie, Hotel, all together, rstack, and then there's dot, and it ends with com. Once again, power.rstack.com. We put an article which is comparing the gas station model versus parking lot model. It includes many more details from what I briefly described. And we also put 3 different surveys which you can fill, and then you can let us know about the specific needs and specific products that you like to have, that we can build, or we can customize some of our existing products to fit your needs. The 3 different surveys are, one of them is for hardware, the other one is for software, and the third one is for feature of power switching products. Basically, our power switching products include high voltage and high current electric switch. They include a near-field communication reader, which can identify user by their debit or credit card, or like a near-field communication card, which has the size of a credit card, or near-field communication token, which has the size of keychain token, or near-field communication ring that you can wear on a finger. And the products that we built include also current measuring capability. It includes remote connection capability, and it includes sophisticated software which can connect multiple charging stations together, and it can connect then to a central entity, which could be either our website, or it could be utility provider, and provide important information as the request to start charging, and the energy which is requested to be provided by the power utility. In this way, power utility can have information about the demand, so that they could provide sufficient generation capability to match the consumption and requested capability. So power utilities, they have to balance this two at every moment in time, because if there is a disbalance, either they are wasting energy, producing energy which is not being used, or they could not provide enough energy, and they have to switch and turn off neighborhood cities or entire regions, so that they could then bring additional generation capability and react and fulfill the demand for electric power. With this said, I'm ending talking about this project, and I like to mention the final project that we work on. The final project is about intelligent devices, and these intelligent devices are going to be outfitted with vision. They can recognize different objects. They could be outfitted with mobility, so that they could be moving around, and they could be outfitted with like sound input and recognizing voice capability and sound synthesis capability to respond to certain requests. These devices which we work on are in the group or the category of robotic devices, and we believe that robotic technology is going to be the next leading edge technology after the current leading edge of technology, which is based on machine learning and machine learning models, be these large language models or other models for vision and other purposes. So we think, and we are working in advance of the current leading edge of the future leading edge technology, so that at the point robotics becomes leading edge technology, we are going to be prepared with number of products that we can offer for the market and for either end users or businesses. We do not have yet a website for this different project, but we started this project fairly recently. They have been maybe 3 or 4 months in development of this project, and we're going to build and release website, and some of the next presentations I'm going to tell you the name and the URL of this website. With this said, I like to thank you for coming and listening to this presentation. Have a nice day, have a nice evening, and goodbye.